Larry Dorsey wrote a book called The Healing Words, and it was all about the power of prayer. Greg Braden wrote similar books, many books, that also talks about the power of prayer. And what they discover is that prayer actually does make a difference, a quantity of the time that makes it more statistically significant than if there was no impact whatsoever. Along these lines is also remote influencing and the power of astral projection, as well as the laws of manifestation. Okay, so I just piled all of these terms into one videotape, and predominantly what I want you to recognize is that we as human beings don't really understand our spiritual power to influence material circumstances because it doesn't always work. It doesn't always work. You know, let's talk about dieting. Diets don't always work. You're not always able to stick on a diet, or the diet doesn't always help you lose weight, or maybe it works for a bit, but then it stops working. You know, diets don't always work. Now, why would I be bringing up diets in the middle of talking about spirituality? Prayers don't always work, and so many people decide, well, therefore they don't work. But what Larry Dorsey talked about in the Healing Words is that in a percentage of the time that people pray, there actually is a statistical significance of it helping individuals. So he takes it in terms of individuals that have extreme health concerns. And he compares the pharmaceutical tests where the medications don't always work either. But they sell those medications to us because a percentage of the time those medications work. And so we're playing the odds. We're saying probability is that that medication will work for this complication, so I'm going to use it. And maybe that probability is high, maybe it's moderate, but it's better than nothing. It's even better than the placebo. Now let's talk about the placebo effect, because in a lot of spiritual writings these days, the placebo effect is actually very powerful. Placebo is when you're taking something that's not supposed to have anything to do with actual remedy, but nonetheless a person seems to get better. You know, faith healers are said to have a placebo effect. A person gets better just because they believe. And we have wonderful authors, the Biology of Belief, amazing book by Bruce Lipton, that really does introduce the idea that when you believe something, you can actually alter the biological and cellular structure of something. So if you really believe, there's so many little glitches to this, but if you really believe, you're more likely to produce a healthy body because you're influencing the cellular structure of your body by your thoughts, your passions, your emotions, your convictions. And it's maybe possible that your thoughts and your passions, your emotions and your convictions and your prayers are actually altering your behavior enough so that you may be eating better, sleeping better, resting better, being more trusting, being kinder, more compassionate, less full of stress, less cortisol in your system, more serotonin being produced that's being used effectively because of the power of belief. So the power of belief, which is kind of like a placebo effect because it isn't a pharmaceutical or it isn't a surgery, but the placebo effect is that if you believe, you could have a really dominant influence potentially, probability-wise, on your biological well-being. And that's in the book, The Biology of Beliefs. There are so many books out that are about this placebo effect in people's lives that it's now called an authentic effect. That means that it actually produces results a percentage of the time. There's a probability, you increase the probability. So if you're at all scientifically oriented, and this is why I'm going into this, is because this has some scientific statistical rationale to it. You can sit there and say the likelihood of someone getting better is 30% if they do nothing, and 70% that they will die if they do nothing. Okay, so a person gets better and you say, oh, well, you were in the 30% that was going to get better even if you did nothing. Okay. So then now you take that same person, you say, well, if you add prayer to it, or the biology of belief, and you also add your pharmaceutical, and you also add good eating, good sleeping, and mindfulness and meditation, which reduces your anxiety and stress, and you add the social component of wellness communities, then you have increased the probability of your improvement because you're intervening on your behalf. So now the likelihood of you getting better is higher than just chance. So if chance is 30% and you do these things, maybe you actually influence the chances to be 70% you'll get better, and 30% it won't work. Now you still have that 30% that it doesn't work, but you've upped the probability that you're going to get better. So now if you just isolated that a person just practices the biology of belief, the mindfulness of healing, Hay House and Louise Hay talked about the power of belief and her way of influencing her body with cancer and healing herself by way of her belief system and her practice. Ho'oponopono. Oh, I don't think I did that justice. But a good friend of mine, Belinda Farrell, and I have her audios and my interviews with her available to you on the site. And she used her own meditation, her self-statement, her self-healing, laying on a bed, absolutely unable to move for 4 days with such extreme pain in her back and needing surgery. And for 4 days, she prayed, she did the Ho'oponopono, oh my gosh, I'm really not doing justice to that, I'm sorry, process until finally she was able to get up, move, and she was fine. Didn't need surgery. It's an amazing story. She has other amazing stories too about angels helping and working with her in amazing situations. Oh, right? So she has the power of belief, and she took a situation where the likelihood of her being able to not have surgery is like 20%. 20% chance that she'd get better without surgery. But 80% chances she would need surgery and she would never get better without it. Well, we could say that she got better and she was part of the 20%. But the thing is that she recovered fully, and the likelihood that she was in that 20% is pretty low. So we're saying that biology belief is like, it is the power of effect. It is the power of belief. It is potentially the placebo effect of being able to get out of a situation. So here's the application of this. On a spiritual level, if you believe that you can recover and you can thrive and you can have this amazing life, you imagine it, you act it, you feel it, you fight off the feelings that you can be nothing, and you create mechanically, artificially, until you really feel it and see it and believe it and begin to act in accordance with it, the probability of you being able to recover has gone up. The probability of you being able to thrive, gone up. The probability of you being able to move into ascending and transcending, gone up. And so in other words, through the power of belief, and I know I can get over this, I know I can rise above this, I know I can have this amazing life, I know it. I don't know how, I don't know what, I just know it, and I'm going to feel my knowing of it. And perhaps that is the biology of belief. I'm going to feel and think and imagine my own knowing that I can move into thriving and that I can recover and that I can have this amazing life. I know it, I feel it, I see it. And while this sounds like amazing craziness, we have statistical analysis that more people shift from the low probability of recovery than would be expected. Okay, so let's just say we do the statistical analysis and say that 20% of the people could recover from what Belinda Farrell had. So now we take 100 people, they approximately had the same complication, and we say 50% of them use the biology of belief in their favor. They use the Ho'oponopono meditation process that Belinda does, and they just had this amazing prayer life, this spiritual consciousness, this belief process that involves prayer and meditation and visualization, creative visualization, and knowingness that's emotional and mental and a conviction inside you. And 50% of them practice that. And 50% of them don't practice anything. We would expect that out of that 100 people, only 20 would recover. Because remember, the recovery process is only likely to be 20% of those people. But we find that in those 50 people who have exercised those types of biology of belief, the placebo effect, the prayer, the conviction, the creative imagination, that a large percentage of them, much bigger than 20%, actually recovered. So let's just say, and I'm just making this moment up, but 80% of that 50 people recover, whereas only 20% of the 50 people who did nothing recovered. So see, in that 50-50 up there, we maintain that same consistent prediction. But down here, the prediction is blown away because of this activity. Now, I am giving you fake numbers just to kind of give you easy numbers to think. But there's so much research out there that gives you authentic numbers that's been statistically analyzed. And Larry Dorsey was one of the first medical doctors to actually write about this so that we could look at how the power of prayer or the healing words actually seem to make a difference. Now, there are other things that seem to make a difference too. Reiki is a healing touch. It's an amazing, wonderful experience, and it seems to improve the likelihood of surgery going well. It seems to improve the likelihood of patients getting better. It seems to improve the healing of tissues in petri dishes. It seems to reduce destructive bacteria in petri dishes. So since we statistically can look at all of those, we say, this Reiki healing energy must have something to it. The power of belief has something to it. The placebo effect has something to it. And so I don't want you to miss out on that in your life, the convictions of prayer helping you, the conviction of your belief in yourself, belief helping you, the convictions of feeling your capacity to transcend, your ability to feel a spiritual connection that helps you live a powerful life, a good life, a full life. Those are really important components of you being able to rise up out of the darkness of abuse and trauma. So don't leave them behind. They're very powerful tools. Now, are they 100%? No, but then nothing is. So if our measure of their authenticity is based on 100%, we don't even require that of our pharmaceuticals. But do they seem to shift the ordinary prediction, the ordinary probabilistic statistics? Yes. And you want to play the probability, you want to potentiate the probability so that your probability of getting better is much better than the ordinary probability. All right, see you in the next class.